Welcome to our Sunday specials. How many children of school age in Nigeria can fluently speak proverbs or converse in their local languages without mixing with English language? Our cultural ambassadors are concerned that the rate English is being exalted over mother tongue in Nigeria is among children is becoming alarming and may have a negative effect on the country's identity in the near future. In this Sunday special TVC News, Olawakon takes a look at the issue.
Yunus Ambana resides in Lagos. He is from the northern part of Nigeria. His love for preparing his local tea from start to finish is unquestionable. Mr. Ambana does not only appreciate his culture through this local tea, he frowns at people who discourage their children from speaking their dialects, which he says creates a huge gap between them and their identity.
Anybody make you not live in own culture. Are you hear me? If me I do my own culture, you to do your own. Make Igbo do in own. But if I say make I not do my culture, okay, now your culture I go do. See this is my thing now. It's my culture because I meet them from my father, they drink them.
For him, parents are at fault.
People go say, my children know they hear my language. Lie. If you know be school where then they go, then no fit down here to speak English. Now my language then they speak.
According to the National Language Policy Section 3, paragraph 15, number 4, government will see to it that the medium of instruction in the primary school is initially the mother tongue as the language of the immediate community and at a later stage, English. Is this being adhered to strictly? I set out to one of the schools in Lagos to understand how speaking of indigenous languages is encouraged among students. In this classroom, these students cut across ethnic groups. First, I asked them to communicate in their mother tongue. Do they prefer English to their native languages?
Mother tongue is more better than modern tongue because the mother tongue has been existed for a long time. Why the mother tongue is just come from other countries. If you think of it, we should embrace our own culture rather than foreign culture.
I'm not fluent in my language. When I try to speak it, I sometimes make a mistake.
Peter Ayola and Precious Ayola are siblings. Precious, an 11-year-old girl, is one of the very few of her age mates who can speak Yoruba proverbs fluently.
It means like the hand of the child does not reach up. Like if you have a corridor, like now, the hand of a child can't reach to that clock. And that of an adult can't enter like a calabash, all this, what we call shekere.
Babanki Oba.
Modupe Olashomade is the principal of the school. As an educationist, she believes social class discrimination in the society is a major factor militating against speaking of indigenous languages among children.
If we as a nation try to encourage our people to speak the mother tongue, learn about their culture, move to their people, it will boost our tourism. It gives us a sense of belonging. And I pray that we won't have that type of war where you have to identify yourself by the language you speak.
For her, encouragement of mother tongue will move children closer to their culture, which is their identity.
We are talking of Iro and Buba, most of them don't have. They don't even sew it for them. So when the parents shy away from that, how do you want the children to have anything to do? And what will they pass on to their own children? So, by and large, we have the mother tongue becoming extinct.
The Lagos State House of Assembly in 2017 passed a bill enforcing the speaking of Yoruba language. This makes the teaching of the language compulsory in all schools in the state, both private and public, by including it as a core subject at all levels, and that state-owned tertiary institutions shall incorporate the use of the language as a course unit into their general Nigerian studies, GNS. Mrs. Shomade applauds the initiative.
There's a social class that they believe if you are up there, then your children should always speak English. If you speak Yoruba, you're a local person. And things like that. And I like the Lagos State, the one that was passed recently, that on Wednesdays, the children should speak Yoruba in schools. We adopted it here. So everything from assembly, throughout that day, we speak Yoruba.
In trying to juxtapose between speaking of mother tongue in this generation and that of our forebears, the crew paid a visit to this 94-year-old woman, Taibat Erikitola. As an ace broadcaster and educationist in the 60s, she says the youth of this generation are deviating from their culture.
Just a show, ordinary show. Because most of these children that speak English and they want to be seen that they, God, I can speak English.
There is a question of whether indigenous languages are being handed over to children in homes and schools. What should be done to make children of this generation embrace their culture again?
Training children is the biggest duty any parent has to face. All parents. If you pastor for him, he too will pastor the child. And it goes on like that. But somebody who is not trained, how can he train? You will not be at home every time. You employ people to look after them. If that person you employ doesn't speak that language, what happens? The child will be miserable.
According to UNESCO's Global Education Monitoring Report, 40% of the global population does not have access to education in a language they understand. The report argues that being taught in a language other than the indigenous language can negatively impact children's learning. There is a growing concern that the way indigenous languages are being discouraged among children, some of the over 250 local languages in Nigeria may go into extinction in the near future. On the streets of Lagos, a cross-section of Nigerians also shares this concern.
Our culture is dwindling because most cultures are based on individual languages, because there is no culture that doesn't have language. When the language is dying, it means that the culture is dying.
Now, these people are ready to learn Yoruba language because they know the value of it.
Culture enthusiasts believe encouragement of indigenous languages in any society will help in the promotion of oral traditions, heritage, and diversity across generations. Ola Awakan, TVC News, Lagos.